Hello, overclockers, and welcome. Oh, screw this. Where's EPIC when you need him?
I guess that's us then. Yep. For some reason I was expecting another ad, but I don't know why. Anyway, hello. This is our hardware disasters panel. Disasters. We'll go for that. Last few events we've been doing a few more chatty talk type panel shows. We've done something about careers and community building, and we figured with so many people here who are quite close to the hardware world of gaming that we'd have a chat. But rather than doing a sort of super serious, like where's technology going, how to upgrade, we thought we'd just generally spend the next hour taking the piss out of people, which Andy already started. When we were gathering these stories, you were going through trolling from the outset. Yep. So we're just going to do that live, basically. But as we're doing so, we will get some hints and tips from people who know far more about building and upgrading than I do. There's a reason, I'm not just saying this, there's a reason I got you to build my last PC, because I couldn't be bothered and I'd probably ruined some expensive components. So I'm by no means an expert in this, but I am very good at taking the piss out of people, so we can do that. Everyone hopefully knows me. Shall we go down the line and do a quick intros where you're all from? So Mark, do you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. So I'm Mark, I work at Intel and I work in communications. Very exciting.
Very well put. I'm Jack, I'm PR at MSI UK.
I'm Andy, I'm from Overclockers. I do events and other stuff like that, so yeah.
Before we go in on, on our community, which we will definitely get to, let's start maybe with one or two of our own stories. So these can either be your own builds, your own upgrades, your own repairs, or it could be sensitively stories you've encountered without giving away anything that may be confidential with customers. I've got a very boring one that I'm going to go with, and it's not a major upgrade. It's a keyboard issue. I used to have quite an expensive SteelSeries keyboard that I had a beer-related accident with.
Right.
Unsurprisingly, and I was advised by a different retailer that the best thing I could do was get a hairdryer on it. Okay? What they didn't tell me was to turn the heat down on that. I'd had this keyboard a week, by the way. It was about 120 quid or so. I'd had it about a week, and he didn't tell me to turn the heat down on the keyboard, and it literally fused all of the keys into one giant key.
Did you wash it first, though, or did you just dry the beer onto it? Okay, right.
Blast the hairdryer at it, and I don't have a hairdryer. I wouldn't even know how to use one anyway.
Same.
So I borrowed like M's hairdryer, just whacked it onto full heat. There you go. It's dry. Oh, so I could jump a lot in game. That's about it. So that's my only real story. I've been quite lazy recently and buying pre-builds instead, or borrowing work PCs. There you go. That's my embarrassing story. I was very stupid, and it cost me a new keyboard.
Could have been worse.
It could have been a lot worse. As we'll see as we go through.
Oh, yeah. Well, we were talking outside, and I think we had a couple. Certainly the most horrifying one for me was finding a spider inside the computer that was still alive. And it was, if anyone's familiar with the 011 dynamic case, it's all glass, so you can see right inside it. Flipped it on, all the lights come on, and there it was. Like, I mean, this is a bit of an exaggeration, but it was freaking massive, this spider. And I had to burn that case now. I can't use it anymore. It just freaks me out too
And
much.
move house.
Yeah, it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah, fortunately my spider one was a bit more of a surprise. Friend's fan wasn't spinning in the case, so he knows I work for a computer company, so I'm like, yeah, I'll come round, did the simple thing and pull the front panel off, with obviously the system's powered on, spin the fan for it, and just see this spider disintegrate throughout the case, and I'm like, well, there's your problem, your fan now works. So yeah, luckily that spider was unsurprisingly dead after that, not very much alive in a nice fish tank, so
Oh, do
Well,
not
now
want-
I feel weird because I don't have a spider-related story. Basically, we had a motherboard come back in, and a guy had tried to basically replace the cooler on it all, and it come back in. And we're like, okay, well, what's the issue? We basically took everything apart. As soon as you open the case, there's just cooling everywhere, just absolutely everywhere. And you put it all in the RAM slots and everything, and I'm just like, I don't know why. So that was kind of like the biggest issue that I've ever seen myself.
Wow,
When,
brutal.
when you were talking backstage, I had a stupid question. Has anybody you know ever tried to cut down their graphics card to size because it wouldn't fit? Because that feels like a really stupid thing somebody would do.
I mean, I've personally done it, but in the sense that...
Do you know somebody who's like, couldn't get it to fit in the case, so just lopped the end off?
I know somebody who's not so much cut the graphics card down as so much because some GPUs, the coolers are longer than the PCBs,
Exactly,
so
you
they've
cut the shroud and then it's...
but they've done it badly, and it unsurprisingly they needed a new graphics card or at least a new cooler for it. So yeah, I've seen it done, but I've seen people like file parts of it down to get it into a case that's barely got any clearance, and it's like if it was tight before, now it just looks ugly and tight, so it's not exactly the best solution. But no, I've seen people like do things like so back in the day, like DIY bodge jobs, like your IHSs on RAM. It's like, oh, I want to paint them a different color. Oh, I'll go through all the effort to take them off. So if you've ever done that, they're usually stuck on with quite strong double-sided sticky tape. And if you're not careful and you don't warm it up, what happens is the RAM chips are no longer attached to the RAM, and what you've done is ruin that DIMM of RAM. And when you do it to both sets of RAM, I don't know why you didn't learn with the single one the one time, but you may as well commit and ruin both. So yeah, I've seen that happen. And fortunately, when we've just been doing it on dummy RAM, I've had that happen with myself, where it's like, even when you've warmed it up, obviously hot metal gets hot, so you don't want to warm it up too much, but yeah, you ping it off and it's like, oh, there's only like 7. Why would there only be... No, there's the 8th. So luckily never done it myself, nor would I. I'd rather just buy the RAM and go, yeah, it's that colour, let's leave it be.
Talking about hot metal getting hot, one of the stories that came in was from Andy Y, who is around somewhere. I don't think you can get this one on screen. He once fried a
CPU.
That has a random number there. Don't know what that is. Oh, hang on. By removing the heatsink while it was still turned on, which seems a little bit stupid. There was smoke, there was fire, there was corrupt text on the screen. I'm amazed he even had a screen on at that point. And there were almost tears. The lesson was learned. Well, he didn't learn much of a lesson, but he did end up with a faster alternative CPU as well.
Yeah. Normally with that style of CPU, the normal ones which I've heard, and I have had happen, is that there's a reason why people tend to wiggle it or power it up to warm up the thermal paste, because you pull the cooler off and then wonder where the CPU's gone.
I have done that
Yep.
before with this particular brand
Yes.
of CPU.
Yeah. And if you're really lucky, nothing happens. If you are, what probably normally happens is you've also killed the CPU. And if you're not too delicate with tweezers, you're probably not going to bend the pins back. But yeah.
Speaking of bent pins, actually, I've done that before.
Motherboard.
Motherboard,
Yep.
accidentally dropped some thermal paste, like a little drip onto the pins, and then I was like, oh, I'll be okay. I'll just get a bit of isopropyl alcohol, clean that bad boy off. No, so I did that. The little cloth I was using got caught on the pins. Then I tried to pull the cloth off, and it started to bend all the pins back. I will say, though, I did save it with some tweezers and a magnifying glass and a lot of patience.
Mine was with a razor blade. Luckily, only 2 had bent slightly, so I just put the tip of like a Stanley blade in and just carefully didn't touch the PCB enough to damage it and just straighten them ever so slightly. But yeah, that was a lesson learned to be a bit more careful.
Ones to do.
And that board was the BIOS update one, and I thought, oh no, I have killed it. Took it to work, gave it to tech to check, and literally by the time I'd gone from tech back upstairs and sat down, they were already bringing it back up and were like, it was BIOS, you just needed to update. So there's the other one. If things aren't working, update BIOS. I've never bricked BIOS. Have you guys ever bricked a BIOS and update? And people are genuinely pretty worried, or is like, oh, but what if it dies? It's like, if it dies, it dies.
There's usually a way back. And I think that's the thing with all these things, right? Don't panic. Like, even with the bent CPU pin thing, it's like, usually there is a way to fix it if you're patient enough.
Unless it comes off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
no.
smoke and fire. Then
Yeah.
that's probably also a thingy.
I think that's
Stop
gone.
there.
Yeah,
You know.
I have seen that happen when somebody's been testing stuff, like a capacitor on a motherboard just went pop and there was fire and it was like, pull power, put fire out. Board still worked. It was like an audio thing or something, so the audio probably didn't work, but the board still worked, so.
That's fair. Have you, or do you hear of many thermal paste issues? Like, have you had
Yeah.
any return that are, like, absolutely covered
So
that you can talk about?
probably, because I don't work in returns, I don't see that, but Ian who does, like, EPIC who does all the benchmarking stuff, he's renowned for just having thermal paste everywhere on everything. You go into the room, you come out and you've got thermal paste somewhere, but yeah, no, I think I've done that where I've thought, oh, too much can't be a bad thing, too much is a bad thing. It's one of those where it's like, learn how much is the right amount. That's why people say pea-sized, and then, yeah.
We're going to get into the debate of what pattern to put the thermal paste
Doesn't
in,
matter.
Really doesn't matter.
as long as there's some on there.
Yeah.
What else have we got? Let's have a look. Okay, I think we've got some photos to go with this one as well. So this was Avid Penguins. You ever wake up to a dead PSU motherboard, water cooler, SSDs, hard drives, switch dock? I did. Is it that hard to plump a washing machine correctly? And then it goes with these photos.
That's, I mean, why, but the question I have, the big question is, why would you keep your computer next to your washing machine? What's kind of setup have you got going on?
It came through the ceiling.
Oh, wow,
So
okay.
it's got to have been pretty bad. There was, I won't name companies, but I had a WhatsApp message from somebody we worked very closely with the other day who run a broadcast studio and showing me the water pouring through the ceiling. Apparently the guy who lived upstairs had fallen asleep while he was running the bath. And it all just ruined their studio. Like, very expensive mistake, which looks like Penguin had the same.
New feature coming up, MSI waterproofed everything. That's what we're going
Thought you were going to say MSI washing machines.
Just throw it in the dishwasher after LAN, it'll clean it all off.
Absolutely.
Yeah, is he around? I think he's in fake side. I'm assuming that didn't survive. That's a lot.
Aptly, he's in Lakeside.
Yeah. That looks a bit dead.
Fair play, the keyboard survived, though.
We get the images on the screens out the front so people can see what we're looking at. It's a little bit soggy. I don't know if you can see that there. I think there's
That's one of those Reddit threads, isn't it? Like, am I doing water cooling correctly? Hey guys, it's not working. I poured water in there, but...
And even after all that, his keyboard's still not clean. That looks, even from what we can see here, that wrist rest looks pretty
Oh,
grim.
that looks...
That's been to LAN. What else have we got? From Davral to... Oh, Milraw to Davral. Davral's definitely... Seem to recall that time you dropped your PC out of the loft and down a flight of stairs. That's 15 years ago. Again, was that going to LAN maybe?
Yeah, so I think I've seen the kind of story of this. I might be wrong, obviously I don't want to tell somebody else's story, but I think it was something along the lines of they were all at LAN, like gaming and stuff like that, and I can't remember exactly what, but yeah, it ended up getting launched down a flight of stairs instead of carefully carried. So I guess maybe somebody tripped or something like that, but yeah.
We have a lot of ours that end up being fall damaged. 'Cause we're transporting our PCs quite regularly, so we've had, and it was me, I'm going to hold my hand up to be me. We had a pretty late night job once where we threw all the PCs in the back of the van. I just wanted to get home. We were driving back from Leeds, and I put a couple of them on top of like roll cages, thinking they would stay. They didn't. When we got them back, the graphics cards are like that because there's no like anti-sag brackets in there. So they just bent, but then they'd ripped the motherboard as well. So it wasn't just the card that had gone; it's the board that had gone. It's a 3-year-old board, and we couldn't replace it because it's end of life. So I've had a few fall damages. There's one that I'm getting blamed for, which was at Insomnia a few weeks ago, and it had a tempered glass front panel. And we got there, and it was tempered glass confetti all through the bag.
Oh, no.
It had smashed. I think it was Sarah backstage, but she's still saying it was me.
By the way, just throwing Sarah under the bus here. She can't
Completely.
defend herself.
No.
I can make you feel better about that. So at work, I'd got a new PC, and I don't think it had even been built for 24 hours, and was moving some things from behind, and the cables were entangled, and let's just say it went bang down on the glass panel, picked it up, and it was almost like a perfect square of completely shattered glass on the floor. And it was like cleaning it all up, getting all the things up. For months after, you'd still find like tiny little pieces of glass.
It goes
was
everywhere.
just, yeah.
For something
yeah.
that's supposed to be quite safe, it really does.
Yeah,
shatter.
Yeah, and unsurprisingly, it's very sharp. So it's like, yeah, this really isn't that great, but been there, done that.
I'm guessing we have a lot of people who come to LAN, everything's packed quite nicely, and then you get it here and everything's broken, unseated.
Yeah.
Like, we still struggle to try and find a nice way of packaging it. We don't want to go down the line of having to stuff every case every time we go out. But yeah, I know some people hate taking their PC to LAN just in case they damage. And certainly when water cooling was a pretty new thing as well, people were very scared.
Yeah, there was somebody who came, maybe on here, so I may spoil the story, but somebody came last LAN and a PC, like the case was absolutely obliterated. And fortunately, we got one to just in case that happened, so we hooked her up. But yeah, I think she was part of the Goose House, and she was very distraught. And then we come trotted over, and we're like, oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. Here's my really unhelpful reply.
Yeah, this is where you started trolling people. Not necessarily a hardware issue, but a Windows issue. So Haribo, who's a Valorant observer, was editing his registry, first problem, and he ended up deleting the file which allows exe files to run, so he couldn't even log in. And then good old Microsoft sent him the exact file type that he couldn't run to fix the problem. And you gave a very helpful tech support advice there.
Not there to help, there to mock.
Again, like, there are many questions here, like why? Why would you need to go into the registry? Why would you ignore warning one? Yeah.
Oh, he knows what he's doing. It's fine.
Clearly, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, editing stuff in registry sometimes is very useful. When you know, when you start poking around in places like that, probably less so.
I don't even understand why he would be there.
Yeah.
That's not tweaking something.
No.
And that's not editing either. He's deleting entries.
Yeah, for me, it's like going into Adobe and telling it to ignore physical. So I did this the other week. So Adobe is, let's say, a bit of a problem child of software. I'm sure anybody that uses it knows. And sometimes, even when you tell it to use like 90% of the RAM, you'll go into usage, and it's like, I'm really struggling. Yeah, you're using 12 out of 32 gig of RAM. Use more. You are allowed to. So I'm there, and I'm like, I'll just tell it to ignore the amount of physical RAM. Oh, let's turn it up. Turn it up. And then I'm sat there, and I'm like, why is my PC not responding? Oh, yeah, I've told it to use literally 100% of the available RAM. So that's why nothing is happening. So, yeah, I say it's useful. It's useful when you don't do stupid things like that or that, unfortunately.
This was during the online event. Oh, again, you were being pretty helpful.
Yep.
Well, except not in this case. So this was Bex, who I believe is going to be challenging you in the next
Apparently
segment.
so.
So this may reassure you. Was playing PUBG during one of our one events. PSU decided it didn't want to exist anymore, and just loud pop. Smoke everywhere. And you said that the bar's near to help drown your sorrows, but it was one of our one events, so it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was a few hundred miles away. So even less helpful with your reply this time. Power supplies popping?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's unlucky. I mean, you'd have to buy a pretty bad power supply or just be extremely unlucky for that to happen, right?
Yeah. Hear about like dirty power going
Yeah.
into it and causing it, but yeah. I mean, at least the good news is, if it's a good power supply and it pops, it's just the power supply.
Yeah.
But yeah, you hear about like PSUs going pop and the rest of the system goes up and they replace the power supply and like nothing else is working, so it's probably all dead.
I've had it take out entire motherboards before.
Yeah.
Yeah, never cheap out on the power supply.
Yep. Yeah. For the sakes of what ends up being like 10, 20 quid, nah.
Exactly.
Double unhelpful.
Yeah,
What's it?
Captain Hindsight then.
Is this just like a social review of everything?
Yeah, so
you've been saying?
yeah, basically, I took to replying to these one evening when they were starting to get posted, and this is just my comeuppance coming back to me of being a real unhelpful ass, apparently.
He just wanted more follows.
I lost.
Farming for likes. What happened here? So I built my current PC some like 5 or 6 times in 18 months. That sounds like you've got a problem there. Dead fan controllers. Full 24 fan replacement.
what case
That's
was
why
this
you
in?
started taking
1000D.
Oh, wow, okay.
rad replacement, damaged during multiple rebuilds, and this week the 24 replacement fans started failing, all an unnamed brand product.
It's on screen, they can see.
Oh yeah, well, true.
I mean, does anyone need 24 fans?
Maybe in Fair.
I mean, so we've built a system in that, and I know that it can be an insanely powerful PC. But yeah, I think So obviously I don't know what this person like uses their PC for, but yeah, that's a lot of bloody cooling.
I mean, if that the cruel irony would be if it's just like 12600K like i5.
Fortnite.
Yeah, Fortnite. That'll be it.
But yeah, I mean, it's 24 fans, but also the 1000D has about as much glass as a normal house with double glazing as well. It is a big case, and it's a lot of glass. But yeah, I mean, maybe next time buy a case with better airflow, or just. I'm not saying it doesn't have better airflow, but it's a lot of glass. Like, don't half the fans, but more. But yeah, this PC just sounds like somebody's put a curse on it all over. If that's what's happening, it's like count your losses.
5 to 6 times in 18 months.
Yeah.
That sounds like I don't have time for that.
Switch to console.
I need
We're
to.
all like, that's the tiniest text
Wheel
in
bend.
the world.
Another PSU. Thankfully, when it comes to systems I've directly interacted with, the first I've had was a PSU explosion. That being said, my siblings' first attempt at an open-air PC resulted in their CPU burning out quite dramatically while they were out. That was a nice smell. Did this open-air PC not have a cooler or just bad cooling? You did that. It literally is all June the 2nd with all your replies.
Yeah, it was literally in the space of like half an hour to an hour that
You
evening.
bored?
I just kept going through them, and I was like, yeah, this will be cool. Annoyingly, I think they then replied to this. It's just because of my big, stupid GIF reply, you don't know what the reply is. Oh.
that was a sneak preview of what's coming next.
Was that the attached photo? People
That's a
backstage.
different
Oh,
one.
okay.
That's a different one. That's a Milrow one, I think. I might have to have a look for the replies to that one. But yeah, another PSU. This was Milrow. I think we get some detail. Yeah.
So the fuse exploded by the looks
Yes,
of it, right?
that's the end of the story. It was a loose connector on his power supply that caused that to happen. I think I put the text in there as well.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, I didn't. I've got his message somewhere. But yeah, the power supply caused that.
I was going to say, I couldn't even see what the issue was. And then, yeah, when you said the loose connector on the 24, it's just ever so slightly not in. Ooh, that's why you always do the pull test.
That feels unlucky again.
Yeah.
That one.
Of the click going in, yeah.
That's why we have fuses. But also, obviously looks after his PC there. It's a little bit dusty.
Let's get a bit of a dust blow every there.
Dent. Might get in the connector. New PC, nothing special. Was cleaning the area under the desk. Then my partner decided it was a good idea to give me a shock. I essentially jumped up and smashed my head on the underside of the desk, launching the PC into our TV, breaking the TV, and cracking my skull.
That one's great.
I don't know if that's real or just like I'm going to make stuff up, like from DCB72. That doesn't seem like
If that's real,
like a real
that is
name.
amazing. And I'm sad it wasn't videoed.
It does sound like a comedy sketch, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It is something that you see on You've Been Framed.
Yeah.
Right?
And again, very helpful.
As I said, not there to help.
Do you remember breaking to not necessarily computers, but when the Nintendo Wii first came out, how many stories there were of people smashing TVs because they were just throwing their controllers at TVs? I wonder if he's... Sorry, go
So
on.
I was going to say, they didn't originally come with like a super secure wrist
No.
strap. They added one later, didn't
Yeah.
they? Because of all the people.
And
bothering.
the extra grip as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
The ones that make me laugh are like people who play VR. Like, I'm sure people have all seen the clips of somehow is it the walk in the plank in the air and you see the person jump and they launch into their massive flat screen and it's just like, how do you forget that you're wearing the head? I get that like stuff's immersive like that, but why are you even jumping? What do you think's going to happen?
It's usually warned you by the time you get to that point as well. You've carried on.
They do make for great TikToks. Though.
Yeah,
Yes.
they are good fun. As long as it doesn't happen to you, it's good fun.
So this is from Prague again, who's in Portland. Horror story turned good when I hand soloed my PC, putting in a new PSU, not noticing that one of the connectors wasn't nested properly. QB turning on to test, flying about 3 feet back because the bang made it run faster. Though, why did it make it run faster?
I see. When you said Han Soloed, I had the exact same thought as you.
Yeah.
What you mean? You just.
I'll be honest, even with my reply on that, when you said Han Solo, I still was just like, what did they mean by that? And then it clicked, then the penny dropped.
God, you're gonna have to explain to me I'm being slow.
Solo built his PC on his own, I guess that's what it means.
Okay.
I guess, anyway. If not, then I really don't.
No.
I
Built
mean,
it with a hairy person who just
that's
goes,
how I read it, but are we just not being big enough Star Wars nerds here?
Gonna say no?
I'm guessing the ice cream van's here again then. Is that nice, Gump? Good.
Hope it melts.
It will do in there. I don't have any images, but I had my first brand new PC at my friend's house, and his little brother put a can of Coke on top of the tower. Wasn't in the room, but turns out that the top of the computer isn't a very good holder for juice cans. As you would expect, it was partly spilt onto my heat-sinkless graphics card, and the rest is history.
Wait, what? Why would the graphics card be heat sinkless? Unless it was an extremely old graphics
Many
card.
questions.
Yeah.
Either way, even if it had a heatsink, that was going to die. I don't think Coke mixes very well with components.
No, you use it to take off rust, it's fine.
Yeah, it'll be
true.
clean, but...
Yeah, the cleanest dead graphics card.
We've had this, again, with the PCs that we rent out. We've walked around in the arena before, and we've seen people have just put drinks on top, and we get like, very, very mad. And we did a tournament, and I can't shame him because he's not here. He would have been at the event. But a guy called Shuby, one of the regular CS players, just knocked a whole pint of water in one of our PCs while he was playing the game.
Wow.
It survived.
I mean, at least it's water. It's not exactly that reassuring. At least it's not sticky when it dries. That's the only benefit, really.
It did dry out and survive. Not straight away, obviously, we swapped it. But yeah, it amazes me that people don't realise there are holes in the top of pretty much every case for good reason, but not for liquids. What's this one? Took my PC to college for an event at Christmas nonetheless. When it got to college, it wouldn't boot. I attempted the CPU reseat. Immediately upon boot, I smelled magic smoke and it never worked again. F. True Christmas miracle.
Great play, Andy. Savage.
That was really harsh. And you had enough by that point.
To be fair, knowing me, this was probably one of the earlier ones.
I mean,
maybe I'd like to think that I started off this and was like, let's get a little less, let's be a little bit nicer. But nah, this one made the cut.
Well, again, the question is, was the CPU reset the first thing that was done? If something doesn't boot, the CPU reseat is not the first thing I would try and fix.
RAM. Normally I'd go RAM.
Yeah.
To be fair, I'm wondering what went wrong with the reseating of the CPU to make something go kapoop and pop something. Unless, again, bent pins is the only thing I
feel
can
like
think.
some critical information that's been left out of this tweet.
we'll have to ask him. He's down that corridor. We're going to dig into more information on that one. But yeah, you're right. Just that. Why has he gone straight in on the CPU reseat without everything? Maybe he did. Maybe that was the last thing he did that then caused the pop. We don't know.
I saw this the other day.
Yes, this was from Amy, and this is it's a monitor on the left-hand side. This was my brother's monitor after an Easter. I don't know what that word is. Some other LAN party.
Something like that.
After an Easter Eye series, he's not here. Duffer who now runs Teams. He'd bought himself a brand new monitor on EPIC. I think it was like a 240 hertz monitor, and he broke it like within days of buying it. And we've seen people, less so these days, but in the early days, literally punch their screens in there after getting knocked out and just completely smash them. Like, complete spur of the moment. Seconds later, they're like, oh shit, what have I done? But we see a little bit now, people like slamming the headsets down or hitting the desk. But yeah, that seems a little bit unfortunate. That's not getting repaired.
Maybe there's a market for esports kind of stress balls that you've got one there, so you're not like just completely destroying your entire system.
That's got to be a travel accident. Now. If it's been set back up at home again, that's not been packed well in the car. Oh, this is you. Do you want to? Oh, I think you talked about this one, didn't you?
Oh, okay. I ruined the story, but yeah, new work PC. It was about 24. Yeah. So yeah, the cables were tangled. I moved something out and literally saw it happen, and it just went bang. Yeah. Like I said, it was still fun in the months later. I didn't even know I submitted that. I ruined it. Wow. Weirdly, I didn't reply to my own story, being an ass.
Somebody did. Maybe it was us. Maybe we got revenge. This is one of my favourites. So this was in Discord a few days ago. So Calith, who's also from Teams, late 2020, just as the new 3090s released, I got a whole new PC, but the NZXT case I ordered was damaged in shipping. He sent the photos of the damaged case. I've not bothered with those because it's a dented case. Yeah. So he'd got to wait 2 weeks for an RMA. In the meantime, he built it into an old case, wouldn't fit the cooler, so he needed some percussive maintenance to fit it in. It's all good now, though. Unfortunately, he's not here. But this is how he managed to get the card into the case.
I mean, I respect the ingenuity here and the determination to make this work. That is incredible.
Andy has no words.
I'm just slightly confused as to... I get it's like in an old kind of case, but what that random piece of metal that is no longer attached inside the first picture, why that's even there? Yeah, so that bit's obviously the 5 1/4, just below that mouse cursor.
Oh.
Like, what is that and why is it still in there? Like, just take it out. You can't even use the excuse it's doing something. It clearly isn't screwed into anything.
Unless, was that part way through, maybe?
Maybe.
I'm liking
Oh, have we
the...
just noticed the AIOs on top of the case? I was too fixated on that.
That's the bit that wouldn't fit.
I mean, zip tied on there beautifully.
Zip
as well.
tied on,
Like,
pipe still reach.
Somebody saw something and was like, I too can build a sleeper.
I like the additional cooling down here. I don't know if you spotted the little USB desk fan.
yeah,
Desk
very
fan.
good. Yeah.
I don't know what... Is this some sort of like monitor arm it's
I
all
think
being held
so,
together
yeah.
with?
Well, that's holding something, isn't it?
It looks
On
like
the end of
it's-
the arm. Is it
Always
holding
getting
something?
close.
I can't tell. Maybe it's not doing anything. Maybe it's not got anything
It's
on the
just
end.
holding everything together.
That,
He wanted to use his
I
new
mean,
graphics card?
if it works, it isn't stupid, I guess.
I'm not sure I agree with you on that one.
It's not going to win a prize for aesthetics, is it?
No.
It's definitely interesting.
We've seen people at LAN again, like when stuff has broken in transit, we've seen people have their PCs just completely dismantled on the desk or in like pizza boxes and stuff just to get it working. We had somebody turn up with their PC in a wooden crate once.
Nice.
Like, again, all the components just in there and together, but the case had gone for whatever reason.
The first one we did just before the world stopped existing, obviously. Somebody, I think they got a DAN case or something else really small. Obviously, for those, you can't put normal coolers on. But it's cooling it packed in. And the only cooler we got is just like a normal tower cooler thing. So we were like, Luke, don't mind. Like, you can have it and you can cool your PC. Obviously, you can't put the side panel or anything on. So I think he had this DAN case on its side with just this big tower cooler sticking off. It was funny to see, but yeah, it was a means to an end. It was better that than coming to LAN on day one and going, well, it's 3 days of sitting here and not doing anything.
From Wellard in Discord, I used to have a Cooler Master Half X. I also have cats. I'm going to assume this is relevant. One morning I turned on my PC, I heard a noise that was like paper in a fan constantly ticking. I opened up the PC to find one of my cats has brought a mouse into my room, and the mouse had found itself sort of trapped but not stuck inside the front of my PC, and the ticking noise was the fan hitting its tail. The mouse wasn't injured, but it was certainly confusing.
I saw this one as well, and when I saw the ticking noise, I immediately was just like, oh no. But yeah, I was glad to read the last sentence.
It was still okay.
But I mean that, for me, mice or shrews or whatever it is are less scary than spiders and stuff like that. Yeah. But still, it's up there on the scale of what the.
How did it
get in?
Yeah, what part of a case would a mouse even get into unless there was, I don't know, blanking plate that's not been reattached or the side panel off or something. But then if so, why did it sit there with its tail in a fan and just not reacting?
Yeah.
I'm fine with this.
Only thing I can think is obviously some old case front panels used to have a cutout in the bottom. So that's the only thing I can think is it crawled along and just got up and in. And then obviously when the case turned on, it was probably just a bit like, kind of, shocked.
Well, I'm being sent some from Twitch chat as well.
Oh.
I'll do that in a minute. So I'm not being rude when I check my phone.
I just want to know what happened to the mouse.
Famous
Went on to live a
player.
great life.
This is Back by Demand, who I want to say has won a chair from you guys back at the One event. He won one of your White Noble chairs. Once replaced a 4-to-1 SATA cable for a custom sleeved one, all pretty, turned off the PC, then pop. Burned 4 drives, nearly 20 terabytes, we won't ask what, and cost nearly £400 to replace them all, the cable and PSU. Fortunately, had all the data backed up. It's a lot of backup. 3 days to copy it all back. Was it wired up wrong? Designed for a different PSU. Faulty cable.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw that as well, and I saw the ongoing conversation about it as well. And yeah, that was crazy. Oh, yeah, 20 terabytes over a knackered cable is mad.
All work, I'm sure. I cut off the rest of the conversation because I wasn't entirely sure where he was going with, who he
Yeah.
was going to blame for the cable, and where he got his PC from. The one in chat from Cookie, friend of mine had a shelf fall off the wall onto their PC, smashed the glass, but somehow the PC survived.
I think I'd take that. I think I'd take not having glass to not the PC.
This is Salty J, who, again, is down the corridor as one of the observers. His PC caught fire while he was observing CSGO for one of the WATN events. And the producer was literally counting down to go live, and he said, my PC's crashed. And yeah, it was on fire. What a day. We stayed at someone's house because I was homeless at the time, cramped to this spare room. We got an air temperature thing that had the room temperature at 30 plus degrees. That's actually catching fire suggests there's something else slightly wrong with his cooling.
The thing is, I'm just amazed at how many people's PCs have caught fire. I've never seen a PC catch fire. Have you? Oh, sorry if I brought up dark times.
No?
No.
No comment.
Not that you can talk about it, yeah. What's another one? More fire.
Wow, okay.
Are we gonna have to start supplying like fire extinguishers with like cases and stuff?
Yeah,
Is
my
that,
risk
like,
assessment
a
for
good
these events has suddenly changed very drastically. Recently got hold of a 990 FX Pro 2 board, an FX 9370. Knew one day, turned the system on, heard a small bang, smoke flying out the case, somehow a small chip on the board just erupted. This is what you were saying earlier, something minor like a capacitor, and the board would refuse to ever turn on again. Not just audio in this case.
Yeah. I suppose that's the problem, though. Obviously, they get tested on the assembly line and stuff like that, but it can happen. It can land, and it was fine, and it lands with you, and it's not working anymore. But yeah, and it is the most infuriating thing when the system's worked fine and then doesn't, and you've not done anything, and nothing got in, nothing touched it, and it's just decided to go. And now I die.
Why? How did that help? Playing Resident Evil in a dark room. Firscher exploded, again another explosion. White smoke, powder everywhere. Turn the plug off with a broom and rubber gloves. Oh, and a change of trousers. And your reply was...
Just another reason for me to never play Resi. Also, why was the PC wearing trousers?
Maybe it's a mod. We missed that.
It was cold, all right.
We missed that, actually. So, LAN's like probably 10 years ago. Like, the whole PC modding scene used to be huge, and people would be trying to build the best custom rig and like etching back in the day and LED. People don't seem to do that anymore. Like, people still go for nice builds, but we used to have people who would theme the builds around a game, for example, and go for absolute, complete custom cases. We miss that, and we used to do like sort of competitions for the best case that we'd see around the event.
I mean, I think there's definitely still a community there doing that
Yeah.
stuff, right? And I've seen some amazing builds online, in recent years. So, let's get these guys back.
I think
I was going to say, it seems like maybe people nowadays have shifted from crazy mods to super clean.
Yes.
And just tastefully, aesthetically done. But yeah.
you
it has
persuaded
lost.
me to go for a white build, which I never thought I'd go for.
Yeah. They do look nice when they're done. I mean, mine's as white as I can get it, but the board's still black, so that's eventually a change that will happen. But
Beats beige. I don't miss beige.
I don't know, man.
I miss
I'd
beige.
love to get a sleeper, like proper 90s case, kitted out. It'd be amazing.
You did that for a promotion this year.
we still
didn't
got it. Yeah, we still
you
got the
actually
case.
build it?
Still, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we put some hardware in and stuff like that. It would take a little bit more persuading to do certain things. Like the motherboard tray is basically flat against the panel, so routing cables, you'd need to repress the backplate, but it can be done with time and effort. You could warm that up and re-punch it to actually take cable running. But yeah, you can. The bigger thing is figuring out where the heck you're going to put like cooling.
Yeah.
Those cases were designed to just put an old tower thing on that usually sucked air from the side panel. But yeah, it can be done. Obviously, people do it all the time, but yeah.
I think people would buy them, like you say, just for that retro feel. It might be an absolute pain in the arse for you guys to build, but
That's why I'm not a builder. It's not my problem. Ivan.
This looks oddly enough like right here at this event. Like, I think that is Portland, isn't it? And he only submitted it the other day. I think this is Ivan when he got to LAN.
So the top panel's pinged out the fans?
Oh, I know
can't
where
tell
the
if
top
fans
panel
were on
is.
the bottom. Yeah, so the top panel's now inside, and that's a cracked
Oh yeah.
No,
cracked window?
we've had a panel handed in at lost property. So I know where that bit is. I can't help you with this
No,
bit.
the panel's in the case.
I think we've got
think
the
that's-
magnetic grill for the top of it.
Oh, okay. Right, got you. Yeah, and the side panel looks as though... Wait, is the side panel missing a huge chunk?
Yeah.
Oh,
there's a
yeah.
crack there.
Yeah. Oh, no, I can see the crack, but on that screen it's a bit clearer, and you can see there's a whole chunk of perspex
yeah.
missing. Rip. So Ivan told me that his case was getting, I think, ropey is how he phrased it. That's more than ropey. That's, like, full-on destitute looking.
What's this inside?
That's the top,
Oh, got you. Right.
which looks very brown and unclean. Like, in that one, you can see it looks almost very brown and dirty.
Well, at least it's going to get clean now. we had a similar. Hopefully Dan isn't watching the stream. So we were repairing some of our PCs in the office, and Dan took one of the side panels off, which are acrylic side panels on a Corsair case. He took the side panel off, put it on his chair, carried on working, and then sat down. And from where I was at the other end of the warehouse, I just heard a massive crack. He literally put his arse straight through one of the side panels. He's a little bit embarrassed about it. Thankfully, it was plastic. If that had been glass, then that would have been a very, very different story, and I'm not pulling the splinters out. It's still got the crack there now. When we took it to NSE for their finals, they came up to us and like really apologetic, going, "We think we've broken one of your cases. It's got a massive crack in the side. We think one of the players has kicked it." No, I know exactly what that was. That's Dan.
I'm guessing there's no associated story with this. It's just
I think he's just posted the image in Discord. He's not in here. I think we need to find out and follow up and go and see if that is. It looks to me like that is the Portland room. So I don't think that is from a previous event. I think that is here. What else have we got? This is just
that looks sticky.
This is just a classic LAN keyboard story. Can I have a new laptop, please, John? Mine got a bit drunk and now half the keys don't work. Whitey wondering if the keys were bubbling up. Could have been an old laptop. It's just alcohol. I have to unstick the control key every 5 presses, which is a whole different meaning to sticky keys.
I mean, I think at some point in everyone's lives, they spill some sort of drink on their laptop, whether it's at work or at home or whatever, right? It happens. It's really annoying.
So Hayden on sound will probably hate me for telling this story, and I'll probably get my microphone muted. I had a gaming laptop of a certain a few years ago, and I had a few little disasters with it. One was that the hinge on the screen just went, so I could no longer use it as a laptop, had to become a desktop. And we used to have a staff LAN party, which is like a 5-day LAN over New Year's Eve. You can imagine how that went. And I don't even understand the backstory, but one of the staff members went and brought a load of broccoli. I think Hayden's realised where this story's going now. And the broccoli was getting thrown around the room. Hayden was holding a glass of port, right?
So were you, hang on, you just hanging out, drinking port and eating broccoli?
Yes.
Okay.
Told you, they get a bit weird.
This is over New
Welcome
Year's
to the
as well.
Midlands.
Exactly. This is probably after about 3 days of Jaegers. So Hayden's standing next to me holding a glass of port, and this chunk of broccoli flies across the room, hits Hayden's glass of port, and it showers an entire row with port. Not just any alcohol, perhaps the stickiest, nastiest to get out of. Yes, that's your laptop. So port went all over my laptop and 3 different people's desks either side, and that finished off the laptop. I couldn't use any of the keys after that. It just completely... Not even to the point where I was willing to clean that. That was just gone. Still finding it now.
I just want an invite to your next port and broccoli party. I'm in.
I don't understand the broccoli. We just had somebody that kept... Why did he buy the broccoli, Hayden? We still don't know.
Brings a whole new meaning to BYOB, though, doesn't it?
This is your spider one.
Yeah, the spider one.
You both got spider ones, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did you burn the house down as well to get rid of it?
Yeah, no. Wasn't my house to burn, but I would have. No, as soon as the spider shot through the system, I think I was sitting on the floor and I kind of just craned my neck up and looked at him and was just like, go get your vacuum cleaner, because that's gross. And his response was just like, oh, it's working. Like, yeah. What? Yeah, just, wow.
Not spiders, but another manufacturer. They put the recovery drives inside the PC cases on a bit of Velcro, which is great because you don't lose them, but when it was hot, the glue on the Velcro starts to melt. So this was when we took the PCs to an EGX, and the guys came over to us and said the fans aren't spinning. And when we opened it up, the USB key that was there with the recovery drive had just made its way into the fans and completely blocked it. Like, why did you stick it there in the first place? Like, that was going to happen. I think we're nearly at the end. What was this one? Oh, I didn't censor this one. Built my first PC with the stock other CPU cooler. So obviously I can't even see this one. Getting more into hardware, I wanted a better cooler. While changing it, the CPU came out, stuck to the bottom of the cooler pins, bent all over, took me 2.5 hours to straighten them with a small sewing needle. Was this you, Mark? It's nearly your story.
Well, I wouldn't be using that particular brand of CPU in this
Of
instance.
course. Yeah.
But no, I mean, like we were talking about that earlier, that's pretty common, that with the thermal paste, but fair play, patience of bending all those pins back. It's impressive.
Yeah, the few times where I've seen stories like that happening, most people say just power the system up for like a few minutes, let it get warm, shut it down, do all the gubbins, and then slowly take the cooler off and give it a wiggle as you start to pull it off. But normally, as long as you're pulling up and straight from the board, that's the less risky way of bending anything. But there's still risks.
Well, fire through these last ones because of time. Building dual CPU lightning fast at the time. Tower case had razor sharp edges. Had to learn how to clean blood from the inside of a PC. Ran amazingly well though.
I mean, that's like old PC cases were always like that. They just weren't as well built as the ones these days.
Oh, this carries on. First PC I built, Pentium 66. Managed to fully install Windows before realising I hadn't put a heatsink or fan on. Can you imagine how long that would have lasted now? Probably would have got away with it though.
In those days, yeah.
Broke a fan blade, tried to glue it back on. It shook so badly the case wobbled along the desktop.
That's impressive.
He's got another one. Was there a time I wondered out of idle curiosity what the voltage switch on the back of the PSU did? You can imagine how that turned out.
That feels like the sort of thing you should research first before messing with. You know,
Yeah.
if you really don't know.
Yeah. That's the quick way of finding out what it does.
He still thinks he's got a positive ratio of working to broken, though. So imagine what... no, I don't. Dated rhyme. First PC was a mix of old spare parts. Around lockdown, I treated myself to a 1660. Ran a treat for a week till the PSU decided to screech and rattle. Shrugged it off as a loose bearing. Normally it would stop. One night it got too bad. Unplugged it, went online, ordered a new one. PSU was free from friend. Been his PC for a while. So it's just another PSU down. We're getting a lot of that.
Yeah. Like we said, don't cheap out on the PSU. It happens.
Once cracked the corner of another CPU while trying to derp the heatsink into place. It still worked somehow.
That's luck. That
only
is
the
dumb
corner.
luck that you didn't break anything important
Yeah.
off the CPU.
There you go. That is the last one. What was our... Do we have a favourite from those? Or is it the worst one or the best one?
I mean, for me, it's the story of that guy headbutting the desk after being
Yeah.
shot. Whether true or not, it's a great story.
I think Khaleth's attempt at building the AO on top of the PC.
I do love the ingenuity of that
Yeah,
one.
just to get it working.
Because it had picks, that one is up there. The story is the bang in the head,
Yeah.
That one's pretty brilliant.
Cool.
Just because of the visual thing with it. But yeah, the system, out of necessity, is just like 10 out of 10 because it works. And yeah, you just can't bring it to land, weirdly.
So to wrap up on this one, do any of you have, for rebuilds, upgrades, like one tip, like one thing you would always tell people to do before they start or during, or not to forget? What would you say?
I think there's one thing that I think a lot of us have learned from these don't cheap out on PSU. as you say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, it's always make sure you take that little bit of plastic off the bottom of a heatsink when it's brand new, because I have done that before, and yeah, it's not a
Did
fun
it help? Or?
Yeah, well, suffice it to say, when I turned the computer on, I was like, why is this running at like 100 degrees immediately, even though the fans are spinning? Yeah.
Yeah, I know a story of somebody who did that and they could smell burning plastic, and that's what it was. Mine's just a 4-letter acronym, and it's RTFM. Read you can guess which word, manual. So yeah, it RTM, read the manual. If you're not sure, read the manual.
Especially the bit that talks about putting the screws and mounts on the back of the motherboard before you put it in the case.
Yep.
Yes.
We've never done that.
Don't guess which screws are the right screws. Been there, done that.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Next segment up, we're going to put some of these things to the test. So Andy's going to be back in about half an hour. We've found a victim, and the challenge is going to be with Andy. The victim has got to build a system, pretty much. Almost up to being ready to boot, minus one part.
Yeah, so basically it's going to be whoever gets the CPU heatsink. So we've only got the one heatsink, so it can't be a case of like, oh, if I can just screw it in and get it on quicker. It's basically, if the PC is ready to have the heatsink put on,
Yep.
that's then the winner. We're not worried about thermal paste and things like that, but there'll be a quick inspection after for like, or is it plugged in enough to then, like, have you jumped a load of guns and just gone, motherboard's in, heatsink's on, I win? Everything else has got to be like wired.
Are you the one judging as well?
Yes. No.
We'll
do an impartial judge. Impartial judge.
Okay, might get one of the marks back to be a judge, I think.
That's fair.
So they're going to get timed building the PC. Their time will stop. Then you're going to get timed stripping down the PC and rebuilding it.
Oh no,
we've
got 2 sets.
Oh, you're doing it at the same time?
Yeah.
Excellent.
I built it this morning.
Okay. There we go. And if they win, are they going to give them something?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. If they lose, are we going to give them Haribo? They can have some Haribo.
A laugh. No, yeah, we'll sort them out with something. We'll see what the outcome is, though.
You've been pretty confident about this for a few weeks, though.
I mean, I'm not. It's not a cocky thing. It's just I don't want to let somebody win. The old Star Wars thing of let the Wookiee win, but simultaneously, it's like it's a good challenge. I can build a PC. Let's see how well it'll go. Admittedly, we'll need a light somewhere because doing it over there or underneath that RGB light didn't really work. So at least some sort of torch in there would be an advantage.
We've got a couple of spots we can shine on the desk, or we can shine it on their desk and not yours.
Cheers.
Excellent. Thank you all very much for taking part in that. Going to be loads more stuff going on throughout the rest of the day. Starting with the build panel. Obviously, pub quiz tonight at 8 o'clock as well. So if you're online, stay tuned. Otherwise, keep popping back into the gallery and see you at 2:30. Cheers.
Hello, overclockers. Welcome. Oh, screw this. Where's EPIC when you need him?